Most entrepreneurs fail because they think too much and do too little. And if you're waiting for the perfect plan before you actually take action, then you're not really building a business. You're building an expensive daydream. Today, we put an end to that. My name is Zuriel Kame. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, CEO of Healthpreneur, and over the past 20 years, I've been building 7- and 8-figure businesses, and I've helped thousands of others do the same. So let me show you the 7 ways to get out of your own head so you can actually succeed in business and in life. Now, before I walk you through the 7 things, I want to talk about why people tend to overthink in the first place. And it fundamentally comes down to this. Humans are deathly afraid of making the wrong decision. And part of that is because we're afraid that we're not going to be okay in the future. And we're worried about the future, which is a construct of our minds. But here's the thing is we're worried about something that doesn't exist. And we're worried about something that we have no idea is actually going to be true or fabricated. And so if you think about this, the only world in which we are living is the one we create in our own mind. The future you're imagining for tomorrow might be very different than the future I'm imagining for tomorrow. But if you live there, that's going to be your reality. So let's just take a step back and think about this. What are we so worried about? We're worried about nothing that actually doesn't exist except for what we have told ourselves in our mind. So when you understand that everything you are worried or overthinking about is 100% construct in your mind, then we can start to step back from that and take a little bit more control, number one, about our thoughts and our life. So since our brain is literally creating the whole thing, we have the power to train and rewire our brain and mindset to take better control. Because the reality is this, our mind is an amazing servant, but a terrible master. So with that said, I'm going to share with you 7 helpful tools to reframe overthinking so you can actually move through life, build your business with more decisiveness, with more clarity, and more purpose. So the first thing is to understand that a wrong decision doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. And part of the reason a lot of people don't want to make a decision, they overthink things, is that, again, they associate making the wrong decision with their ego, their self-identity. And therefore, if we make a decision that doesn't end up being right, then there's something fundamentally flawed with who we are as an individual. So please start to understand that you, as an individual, and your actions are not one and the same. Right? If somebody says you're a bad person, that's an internal locus of self-identity attack. But if we say that behavior was bad, that's a different story, right? So it's not that you are a failure. It's just that the actions you took failed or they didn't work out in relation to the outcome that we wanted. So first and foremost, understand if you start to reframe your decisions don't make you a good or bad person. You already are a good person. And you want proof of that? You exist. You are here on this planet. I know I'm getting a little bit spiritual. You are here on this planet because you're meant to be here, right? And part of this journey is for you to learn and grow and evolve. And you are exactly where you are meant to be. So when you make a decision, that decision is exactly the right decision for you to make, because if you could have made it any differently, you would have. But you didn't. Therefore, you are exactly where you're meant to be. So please understand that there is no wrong decision. The most important thing is to make a decision. Successful people make the decision and then they make it right. So it's not you are a good or bad person. It has nothing to do with the decision. Just make the decision. That's the right thing to do. And part of being able to dissociate from the personal identity of decisions is to really understand there is no failure here. If you think about, okay, well, if I make a decision, what's the worst thing that happens here? Right? It doesn't work out. Well, how do you define it doesn't work out? Because what a lot of people tend to do is they look at life in a very black or white binary perspective, right? It works or it doesn't. But the reality is life works on this very interesting spectrum in between. It's not about it works or it doesn't. It's to what degree is it helping me move closer to where I want to go? And so if you look at every decision as feedback and learning, then you can never lose. I often tell my clients you're either learning or you're earning. And the more you learn, the more you'll earn. The faster you learn, the faster you will earn. but life will continually throw people and circumstances at you to remind you of where you're stuck. And you will not get unstuck until you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. Very much like in a video game. If you're stuck at level 1 forever, you haven't learned the lesson to get past level 1. So when you look at making decisions as part of a learning process and a feedback loop, then it's like, great, what am I meant to learn? What's the feedback I need to get here? How do I grow through this? When you look at decisions from that perspective, it gives you a lot, I hope it gives you a lot more relief, because it's not a life or death thing. It's like, awesome, I'm learning what I need to learn to get to level 2, or I'm learning what I need to learn to get from level 2 to level 3. And when that happens, you're able to move through life with a lot more grace, and you'll understand that making a decision isn't life or death. And that leads me to the second thing, which is the future, as I mentioned, is 100% imagined in your head. So you can either stop trying to control it, or you can write yourself a better future. If you've ever journaled, right, pen to paper, and you wrote stuff down, you can do the same thing for the life you want to create. There's no one's holding a gun to your head saying, this is what your future is going to look like. Doesn't matter what your upbringing, doesn't matter any of the story that you might be telling yourself. Every single day you wake up, you have the opportunity to write a new story for your future. And so that is a choice. Overthinking is just, your mind's way of trying to play God, saying this is how it's going to be no matter what, because of this is how it was in the past. A lot of people, at least, that we serve and work with, they'll come into working with us and they've had, let's say, not great experiences in the past, or some cases they have, right? They invested in a coach, they bought a course, they bought a program, they went through an experience, and it didn't work out too well. And so as a result, they take that experience and they allow that one experience to burn them multiple times. And so that's a really unfortunate way of living, because now they're projecting into the future about a past experience. And listen, past performance doesn't indicate future performance. Very much like if you invest in stocks, you'll see a disclaimer, right? Saying that exact same thing. Past performance or past experience doesn't indicate future performance unless you allow it to. And it's a choice. So I'll give you an example. I was just sharing this with my wife the other day. So we worked with a recruiter many years ago who ended up being just a complete flake and a terrible person. I'll save the details of that for another time. But I could have left that experience saying, I'm never going to work with a recruiter again. I got scammed, blah, blah, blah. Poor me, right? Or I could ask myself, okay, well, what did I learn here, right? What's the good that came out of this? And just because she was a flaky, lack of integrity type of person, does that mean that the next person who we work with as a recruiter is going to be the same? No. So I said to myself, I can hold on to that story that she is going to be the same as everyone else, or everyone else will be the same as her. I can hold on to that story, but is that really going to serve my bigger purpose? No, because if I hold on to that, then I will always stay small. I will never allow myself to open up. And again, what's the worst case scenario? So we move on, we find a different recruiter to help us with hiring. Worst case scenario, they help us hire some people that don't work out. And this is exactly what happened. So we worked with another firm for recruiting, and awesome people, right? Great people doing the best they can to place the right people in our business. They helped us hire 3 people in pretty high level positions. And within about 6 months, all 3 of them were let go. Now, I could again turn back and say it was your fault. But no, it's not. It's just what it was. We learned, we got clarity, and we kept moving forward. But if we close ourselves off to new opportunities based on past experience, then we will never get where we want to go. So please understand that the future is 100% imagined. Your future is literally a pen in your hands that you have the ability to write every single day. And so if you want to allow previous experiences to hold you back from the future, that is your choice. Or you can say, it is what it is. I can learn something from that, and I'm going to keep myself open to possibility because I know there are good people out there. There are good things that are happening for me, and that's a choice. So the third tool to hopefully help you reframe overthinking is the idea that the world is uncertain, but you are the certainty. A lot of people struggle, especially in business, and kind of tying what I said based on the story I just shared, because they're waiting for evidence before they can actually believe and move forward. But the way business works, the way anything is created in this world, is you actually have to believe it before you see it. So what entrepreneurs do is we create things out of thin air. So let's look at a couple examples. The Wright brothers and flight/airplanes. What most people said is like, that's never going to work. You guys are crazy. But they're like, no. We believe in our mind. We can see this in the mind's eye before we see it with our physical eye. So they believed in something, they created something in their mind, and they brought it to reality in spite of violent opposition. And please understand that anytime we're going to bring something new to this world or to life, everyone's going to think you're crazy. Why? Because most people are living in the world of, let me see it first, then I'll believe it's possible for me. And that's why they don't succeed in life. Most people, if you just think of percentages, most people are sitting on the sidelines. They're the spectators in the crowd. Meanwhile, there's a very, very small percentage of people on the field creating. So which would you rather be? Would you rather be the person who creates from your own imagination to believe something before you see it? Or do you want to be the person who's naysaying and criticizing from the stands? It's always a choice. Most people are expecting certainty in an uncertain world, and that's not how this world works. Water is wet, fire's hot, life is uncertain. And if you're expecting anything other than that, you are going to live a very painful existence. I'll give you an example in our business. When people come to us, they're like, hey, Yuri, I need guaranteed money back results. I'm like, you're fucking crazy. Because I don't run your business for you. I don't live in your head. You do. That would be like going to my trainer and saying, if you don't get me a six-pack, if you don't add 10 pounds of muscle to my body, you're a scammer and I want my money back. Meanwhile, I'm the one who has to work out. I'm the one who has to put the food in my mouth. I'm the one who has to get out of my own way and my own stories. And so if you are somebody, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I'm being very honest with you about this. If you are doing the work and you are expecting someone else to give you results, you are 100% fucked, okay? And this is one of the biggest lessons you're gonna need to learn as an adult, is your results are your responsibility, nobody else's. Even if you hire someone to do something for you in your business, you have to take ownership that you hired that person in the first place. And if it doesn't work out, guess whose fault that is? It's yours. And that's okay. It's not saying you're a failure. It's saying the decision's on you. But again, what's the learning? How can we show up as a better leader of our life? How can we show up as a better leader of other people? So please understand that you have to become comfortable with uncertainty. And the only way you can do that is understanding that you are the source of certainty. You are going to be okay. If something doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. Or again, we're projecting into the future and we're so worried about things because we feel fundamentally that we're not going to be okay. If, God forbid, you lost all of your money and you went bankrupt, would you be okay? Just think through that. You probably would be okay. You'd find a way to survive, right? No one's dying here, but we invent these stories that are so like, oh my God, it would be horrible if this didn't work out. And that leads me to the fourth thing, is asking yourself, is this a reversible or irreversible decision? So when you're thinking through something, understand that everything you decide on can be reversed, or in some cases, not reversed. So let's look at an example of an irreversible decision. Even nowadays, apparently you can change genders. So even your gender is reversible now. But for the most part, almost every decision we're making is reversible. If you get married to someone, most people get divorced, or at least half, right? So that's reversible. If you buy a house somewhere, well, you can certainly sell it and move somewhere else. If you move across the country or to a different country, you can also move somewhere else. There's very, very few decisions in life that are irreversible. Nothing's set in stone. You can change. And so when you ask yourself in business, okay, well, is this decision reversible? So I'll give you an example of where a couple examples where people get really stuck and take forever in business and it holds them back. Number one is, what niche should I choose to serve? Okay, well, do you need to take months to figure this out? Do you have to do all sorts of market research? No. Like, there are processes and frameworks and questions you can ask to get a better understanding of who to serve. And I have other videos on this channel to help with that. But as an example, like with our clients, we actually have built frameworks and turned it into an AI power-up tool that helps you identify your niche in 5 minutes. So think about this. I can give you clarity on your niche if you're a coach or a health professional in 5 minutes, even without that tool. Your decision whether to move forward with that is a different story. Now, why is that story coming up? I'll share an example with you in a second. So choosing a niche is the first one. If you're torn between two niches, two avatars, here's what you do, is you take a coin. If I can find a coin, you take a coin and you flip the coin, heads or tails, that's it. If you choose the wrong avatar, the wrong niche, you can always pivot. But what would make it the wrong niche to begin with? You can pretty much build a very successful business in almost any niche, at least in the health space that I've been part of for the past 20 plus years. So avatar is the first area where a lot of people overthink things. Number 2 is price. Oh man, what should I charge for my coaching, for my service? Just pick a price. Who cares? You can change it literally every single time you talk with someone. Like, don't overthink this stuff. Well, why are we overthinking this stuff? Well, people might see this and they might compare it to this, and like, who cares? Like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, again, we are projecting we're not going to be okay at some point in the future if this doesn't go well. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a moment, but if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button below. It will help me sleep a lot better at night. But more importantly for you, it'll help you build your dream a lot faster. So go ahead, subscribe, and we'll get back to the show. So I'll give you an example. So recently I was talking with someone who, very successful therapist, and all of a sudden she wanted to change niche to help teach a modality of therapy to other therapists. Okay, so she's thinking through making a change. And I asked her, I'm like, do you have a proven offer here? Like, have therapists paid you money for this new thing you want to do? And she's like, no, but I really want to do it. I'm like, okay, are you open to some feedback? And she said, sure. I said, listen, you could potentially make it work, but you have proof of concept here. You have this great business, amazing track record here, B2C, working with therapy clients, and you're doing very well. Here, you have no proof of concept. You don't know if people are going to pay you money. And in my experience, when you're showing some type of modality on the delivery side, it's very tricky to make that work. Because typically in B2B, people just want to get more clients and make more money, period. But if you're helping them like do something better on the back end, it's like a nice to have, not a must have. And so she said, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then she just went on and did her own thing anyways. She just started like going down that path. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, at least you made a decision, but hopefully, what happens is some people just take forever bouncing back and forth between the two. And this is why it can also be very helpful to work with a mentor or a guide who's been there and seen this 1,000 times. Because again, if you're not making a decision, you're worried about what's going to be like worst case scenario if this happens. Okay, cool. You make the decision and then make it right. And by making it right, what I mean by that is you find a way to make it work, which most things can work, or you can just revert back. It's not the end of the world. Does that make sense? So most decisions are reversible. The key is to make a quick decision and course correct as you go. In fact, I came across an interview with Jeff Bezos recently, and he was talking with the interviewer, and the one thing he said the number one thing that's holding most people back in life is they take forever to make decisions. And so overthinking is a very, very big problem. And the remedy to this is just to make a decision, understand that it's always reversible. You're going to be totally okay in the future. And the only future that you're creating is the one you are creating. And that leads me to the next tool to help you reframe this. Is there are two voices in your mind, the winner and the whiner. And the whiner is the voice that is always end of the world, doom and gloom, pessimistic, really fear-based. And that voice, that whiner, is always like, well, what if this doesn't work out? Are we going to be okay? Play it safe. Stay in your comfort zone. You don't really need to do this. That whiner is the voice that keeps you small and is what keeps 90% of the world small, doing nothing meaningful. You have the winner as well. All of us have these two voices. You have the winner, and the winner is like, just go for it, man. I got you. You've done stuff before, even if it's not like this. Like, you can win. You can be successful. You are here for a reason. You will figure this out. And the key is, which of those two voices will you feed? It's either the voice of fear or the voice of possibility. It's the voice of doubt or the voice of your dream. The thing is, whichever voice you feed grows stronger. If I'm working out and I just focus on my biceps, like all I do 7 days a week is like bicep curls forever, am I going to get stronger legs? No. And it's the same thing here, is if you give your attention to that whiner, that little voice that is telling you, well, what if this doesn't work out? Then that's going to be your reality. But there are other people in this world, and you can be one of them, who decides to listen to the winner, which is not so much about, well, what if this doesn't work out? It's, what if this does work out? Or I will make this work out. You see, one of the things that I've noticed between the winner and the whiner, and therefore people who win in life and people who lose in life, is whiners or losers always focus on questions that are very fear-based. What if this doesn't work out? What if I lose my money? What if I'm not going to be okay? The winners, though, a lot of times they don't even ask the question. If they do, it's a more positive question. A lot of times they just make the statement. So instead of saying, what if this doesn't work out? That's the whiner. The winner says, I will make this work no matter what. It's a statement. It's not a question, right? What if I run out of money, right? That's the whiner, the fear-based. The winner says, I will find a way. It's that simple. And so understand that, like, when it comes to this, this thing called life, right? All of us move through life, and these two voices are always at play. And whichever one you're giving more attention to is the one that's going to dictate your life, right? So when I talk about winners and losers, I'm not talking about like you are a loser. I'm just saying we have given more attention to that whiner, that loser voice in our head that is keeping us playing safe and keeping us in our comfort zone. And that's not allowing us to accomplish our biggest dreams. And that's really, really unfortunate. The sixth tool that will help you reframe overthinking, and kind of in line with what we just talked about, is actually just a really quick paradigm shift around the question. So again, instead of saying, what if, right? What if this doesn't work? I gave you a reframe of like, well, what if it does? Another way to think about that is turning what if into even if. So check this out. So even if this doesn't work, I will adapt, I will learn, and I'll come back stronger. So imagine living your life like that. So you have, version of you over here that's small and safe and scared. Well, what if it doesn't work? And then you have this version, the winner on this side. It's like, even if it doesn't work, I'm going to learn, I'm going to adapt, I'm going to come back stronger. And then, like, one of the easiest ways to question these beliefs or these small-minded questions to begin with is actually just challenging it with the question. If I'm asking a potential client about, their desire to want to work with us, and they're like, well, what if it doesn't work? Okay, so that's something that people have voiced to me verbally. Instead of me explaining that, I need to challenge the question, right? So if someone says, and I'll just use this as an example, but this is the same conversation we can have in our head. What if this doesn't work? Hey, well, how will you know if it doesn't work? So what if I fail? Okay, well, how do you know if you'll have failed? How do you know if this doesn't work? And there's some criteria in your mind that says, if I do this, I'm successful. If I do this, I'm a failure. Remember earlier I talked about the binary, the 0 and 1? You got to live in the gray. The easiest way to get it, like, what if this doesn't work? It's like, okay, what if this doesn't work? Well, why would it not work for you? What would make it not work? And that's because they're either here or they're either here. So the reframe around that is like, okay, cool, fair enough. Do you believe that if you followed this proven process, it might get you closer to where you want to go? I believe so. Yeah, like, okay, if I hired a trainer, do I believe I will get in better shape with that trainer compared to by myself? And the answer all the time has to be yes, assuming I actually show up into the work, right? If you work with someone who's been there and done that before, you will always move closer to where you want to go. That's a truth of the universe. With that said, is that a worthwhile endeavor for you to move toward, right? Like, if you want to go from A to Z, and Z is if it works, and A is it doesn't, okay, let's reframe that. Is it okay if we got you from A to M? Is that a worthwhile endeavor to go after? Because a lot of times, the reason we don't think something's going to work is because it's like, I'm 400 pounds, I need to be a cover model. Like those are like, it doesn't work if I'm still 400 pounds, or sorry, it doesn't work if I'm not a cover model. It's like, whoa, slow down for a second. If we helped you lose 100 pounds, would that be a good starting point? Cool, awesome. So it really, again, it's coming back to this, it doesn't have to be black or white, binary. Is this going to help me learn, grow, and get better? Because if I keep doing that, eventually I will hit whatever that destination is. We put so much pressure on ourselves for like, this has to be the thing. This has to be the one and only thing. Well, like maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's not the only coaching program you'll ever invest in. Maybe it's not the only car you'll ever buy. Maybe it's not the only house you'll ever build. Maybe it's not the only business you'll ever build. But it'll get you closer to the next one and the ultimate one, because you will learn and grow as you go through this. So reframing what if to even if. What if it doesn't work? Even if it doesn't work, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm adapting. What if I lose my money? Even if I lose my money, I will build skills that will help me make more money in the future. Try that one on for size. And that leads me to the seventh and final reframe I want to give to you here with respect to overthinking, specifically with your business. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. And this is probably the biggest thing that keeps people small. We actually surveyed our email list recently, and one of the biggest reasons that people who are making little to no money use for not being able to get mentorship is because they say they're not financially ready. And I understand that. If you don't have money, you don't have money. But that's also like saying, I'm not able to hire a trainer yet because I'm not in shape. When I hired my first coach, it was more money than I made in my previous year in business. I was not financially ready. But are you ever ready? This is the thing. This is the thing I want you to understand is like, we're waiting. So many people are deliberating and wait. That's why I call it this expensive daydream earlier on. We're waiting for the perfect moment. Do you have kids? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, if you have kids, were you ever ready for them? No. Maybe it happened by surprise. Maybe it was planned, but you're never actually really ready. You don't even know what's going to happen. You might get some friggin' monster that comes out. And then they eventually get a little bit older, right? I've got 4 boys. I had no idea what was going to happen when they came out of the womb. They're amazing, but I wasn't ready. Financially, I was a disaster when we had our first child. But you think I'm going to wait forever to be financially secure before we have kids? No way, man. I'd be like in a friggin' walker by that point, right? In terms of how a lot of people live their life. We're always waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time is yesterday. But yesterday is gone, so now is going to do. You don't know if you're going to be around tomorrow. And a lot of us walk around this planet as if we have forever to live. But listen, that may or may not be the case. The reality, though, is every single day that passes by that you're not moving somewhat closer to your dream, you are moving further from it. I ask my son all the time. I ask my kids all the time. I played professional soccer. I'm not here to push them into anything. They want to get better. I'm like, dude, I will support you to the end of the earth, but I'm not going to push you to force you to do anything. Earlier this summer, they asked, hey, like, could you put together a training program for us? My oldest is 14 and then the second one's 12. Could you put together a training program to help us get stronger and more conditioned for soccer? I'm like, happy to. And I'll do the workouts with you. So recently I was away for a weekend, and on Saturdays, my son and I do intervals, Norwegian intervals to be specific, and they're not fun. They're very challenging, but amazingly rewarding in terms of conditioning. And I was away for the weekend, and I came back and I asked him, I'm like, hey, did you do your intervals yesterday? And he said, no. And I said, that's interesting. Do you think that decision was moving you closer to your goal of being better at soccer or further away? And he's like, further away. So I said, cool. So you made that choice, right? And I'm not here to make him feel bad. I'm just here to help him illuminate the choice that we're always making in any moments is what I'm doing right now. If I'm drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes, is that moving me closer to my goal of being healthier? Not that I do that stuff, but is it moving me closer to my goal of being healthier? No, right? If I'm messing around and not being productive in my work, is that helping move me closer to my business goals or further away? And so in every moment, we have the opportunity to understand that we're either moving closer to our goals or moving further away from them. And when I say that you can always make more money, but you can never make more time, what a lot of people don't understand is that they think they have forever. But the reality is that the world is changing very, very quickly. And the longer you deliberate and the longer you're not moving towards where you want to go, like that ship might pass you by, right? So when I say like, you can always make more money. As an example, when I hired my first coach, it was $18,000. It was more money than I made previous year in business, okay? So this is back in 2010. So in 2009, I made less than $18,000 for the year. So you get a sense of where I was. Okay, worst case scenario, I lose the money. Do I really lose the money? No. Like, the only way I'd lose the money is if I never did anything. But I built relationships, I built skills, I got new ways of seeing the world in business, and I can't even remember the direct ROI from that, but the ROI is infinite. Because here's the thing, that initial investment, the ROI on that is until the day I die. Because here's the thing, that initial investment introduced me to people that I'm still very good friends with. So what's the ROI on that? The business we've done together, the personal relationships, the experiences we've had together. If I learned one idea that helped me be better with my messaging, does that have a finite ROI timeframe? Or is that for the rest of my life that I'll know this and build on this? And again, this is what I mean when I come back to, when people say, well, it either works or it doesn't, it's like, no. It works forever. Because the only time frame we're putting on things is our own time frame. I have to see results in 6 months. Well, what happens if you build skills that give you results for the next 60 years? Is that an okay trade-off? Because when you went to school, you spent 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 years in school earning nothing from what you were learning. But we approach that with a different mindset than a lot of other things in life. We don't look at that as a scam, even though we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in going to student debt for years to get a degree that in most cases, especially if you're not a technical expert, is useless nowadays. If you're a health professional, it's a bit different. But the reality is this, like, you can always make more money, right? When you invest money, you build skills, assuming you're investing in yourself, right? Not the stock market necessarily. When you invest in yourself, when you invest in your business, you're building skills, you're building systems, you're building assets, you're hiring people, right? You're learning as you go. You make some mistakes, you get some wins. It's all good, right? You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. And sometimes the best way to learn is to spend. I know that kind of sounds awkward, but here's the thing, money buys you speed, right? So I talk a lot about advertising. I'm a huge fan of advertising because it buys you speed. It took me 7 years to make my first $1 million in my first business because a lot of it was content. When I started Healthpreneur 8 years ago, we made $1 million in our first 7 weeks because we bought speed by advertising. Now, I've also made a lot of mistakes in advertising over the years, but I've learned from that. And the thing is, I want to take a higher degree of action so I can learn faster. Even with our content, we have tried a lot of different things, in some cases increasing the volume of output, especially on social media. And our whole approach was like, if we can post 3 times as much, we'll just learn 3 times faster. So I would rather buy time than worry about money. You see, successful people understand that money is cheap and time is expensive. But when you don't have any money, we think it's the opposite. And I get that because I was there. But please understand, if you can approach the world, if you can approach life with the understanding that you'll be okay, right? If you're investing in something, if you're investing in yourself, if you're taking a risk or taking a chance on something, you're going to be okay. You can always make more money, okay? But you cannot, at this point in time, you cannot get more time. So it's a worthwhile endeavor to invest your money in order to buy back your time. And I know that might be nice to hear, but that's one of those things, this is one of those things that over time you will start to recognize as you grow in your business. So when you're looking at making a decision around something, right? If you think of even just Uber Eats, that's a great example. I will push a button and I'll use money to buy food so I don't have to make it myself. I save time and get more convenience by using money than if I had to go to the store, get the groceries, and make the food myself. Okay, it's a simple analogy of how humans operate. So humans generally would rather trade money for convenience and less time, right? But again, I'm not talking about buying shoes and Uber Eats and food and stuff. If you can invest in yourself and if you can invest in your business, you will build skills that you will have for the rest of your life. And even if things in the short term are a little bit more out of pocket, you're going to buy time and you can always make more money with the skills you're developing now and well into the future. So those are the 7 reframes to hopefully help you move through a lot of this overthinking. And just to kind of come back to basics, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. no matter what it is you're deciding upon, no matter what it is you're thinking about, it's not the end of the world. You can always reverse the decision, and you're still gonna learn and get better as you grow. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you're a health expert or coach who's serious about starting or scaling your online health coaching business, and you want to see exactly how we do that with our clients, the next video will walk you through our $1 million health coaching roadmap. It'll show you the whole Healthpreneur operating system, the business model that we help install and run in our clients' businesses. So if that's of interest to you, click on the link or the video somewhere around here, check it out today, and at the minimum, subscribe to the channel. I've got hundreds of other videos coming your way to grow your mindset, grow your business, and live a much better quality of life in the process.